Hi everyone, back to channel. Today we are going to start plasmodia, that is malaria. So first there were two scientists, that is the French army surgeon Alphonse Leverrier was the first to discover the causative agent plasmodium in the red blood cell of the patient in Algeria, and he got the Nobel Prize. And Sir Ronald Ross in the year 1897 has described the sexual cycle of the parasite in the female Anopheles mosquito in Secunderabad, India. He also got the Nobel Prize. So what is the causative agent of malaria? The mosquito causative agent is Plasmodia genus. There are four different species of Plasmodium that is causing infection to the man, that is Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale and Plasmodium malariae. The Plasmodium vivax and falciparum are the most common, and the vivax is what we are studying now. And of course falciparum is fatal, it is most dangerous because it also causes the cerebral malaria. Now let us, the falciparum is found worldwide in tropical and subtropical areas, and especially in Africa where this species predominates. The falciparum can cause the severe malaria disease. It multiplies rapidly in the blood and can thus cause the severe blood loss, anemia. In addition, the infected parasite can clog small blood vessels, which occurs in the brain. Cerebral malaria results, a complication that can be fatal. So the Plasmodium falciparum is fatal, the most virulent Plasmodium species in the human. And next we have the vivax. The vivax is the most common thing. It is mostly in Asia, Latin America and some parts of Africa. Because of the population density, especially in Asia, it is probably the most prevalent human malaria in Asia. Vivax as well as ovale has dominant liver stages, that is known as hypnozoids. Actually this hypnozoids is a dominant state, that is resting phase we can say, we will learn it, and that can activate and invade the blood, that is relapse for several months or years after infecting muscle. So what happens is, even after we treat this disease, sometimes they may remain in a resting phase, and again the malarial infection may reappear. And next, Plasmodium ovale. The ovale is found mostly in Africa, especially West Africa, that also in Nigeria, and also found in Philippines and the islands of the Western Pacific. It is biologically and morphology very similar to the Plasmodium vivax. So it also has the hypnozoids and relapse. So what is this, we will learn. Next, Plasmodium malaria is found worldwide in wholly human malaria parasite species, has a quartan cycle. Quartan cycle means 3-day cycle, and the three other species have a terete and 2-day cycle. So only the malaria has a quartan cycle, but the vivax, ovale and falciparum has a 2-day cycle. If untreated, the malaria causes a long-lasting chronic infection, that is in some cases can last a lifetime. In some chronically infected patients, the malaria can cause a serious complications such as nephrotic syndrome. So the seriousness caused by Plasmodium species is first falciparum in the brain, and malaria in the causing the nephrotic syndrome. And next we have, it is called as quartan cycle because of fever paroxysms typically reoccur every 72 hours. Paroxysms means it's a sign of symptoms including fevers, chills and again sweating. So this takes place for every 72 hours. But in terete cycle, that is in our vivax and other three species, the fever paroxysm typically reoccur every 48 hours. Morphology, it's in thin blood smear stained with giemsa. Here we can see this is the early trophozoite. It's having a ring form. The late trophozoite, which is abnormal RBC, you can see, and the immature schizont and the mature schizont, male gametocytes and female gametocytes. Now let us see the morphology. Actually the trophozoite, the early trophozoite is a ring form. You can see ring like structure in the middle forming by the cytoplasm. So it has a nucleus, cytoplasm like a ring, a central vacuole is present, and infected the red blood cell normal in size and shape. The ring form occupies 1/3 of the RBC, except in falciparum where it occupies the 1/6 of the RBC. And next, the late trophozoite, the next form. Here you can see the RBC abnormal, but in trophozoite RBC is normal but only ring shaped cytoplasm. But here in late trophozoite the structure deforms. So the nucleus, the cytoplasm enlarged and changeable in shape. Infected red cell enlarged, marked with Schaffner's dot. This is important because in late trophozoites there are Schaffner's dot, granular structures here you can see, but there are no Schaffner's dots in the early trophozoite. And next, immature schizont. It contains 2 to 12 nuclei. The cytoplasm is not divided. The malaria pigments scattered throughout the cytoplasm. You can see the malaria pigments are scattered throughout the cytoplasm. And next we have the mature schizont. It contains 12 to 24 merozoa, a piece of cytoplasm coalescing around the nucleus developed into a merozoid. So merozoid actually forms in the mature schizoson. As the mature schizoson breaks up, the merozoids are released into the bloodstream and infect the other blood cells. So the female gametocytes is a macrogametocytes because it is bigger than the male. So it's round to oval, larger nucleus. Nucleus is small, red, compact on the side. The cytoplasm compact, stains deep blue, hemozoin scattered. And we have the male gametocytes, that is microgametocytes, smaller in size, nucleus is larger, stains red and diffuse. Actually here the nucleus is smaller and compact to the side, but here the in male gametocytes nucleus is larger, central, and it diffuse, and the cytoplasm stains pale blue. You can see this is the male and this is the female. It's macro, it's microstructure. So coming to morphology, in Falciparum there are two more ring form or layer trophozoites in one RBC. So actually it's an exception in Falciparum that there are two or more ring form or layer trophozoites in one RBC itself. Actually only we saw only one ring shaped structure in trophozoite, but in Falciparum there may be two rings, and the gametocytes are crescent or banana shape. So you can see these are the gametocytes, these are like banana crescent shape, but actually in other vivax, malaria, oval, they are normal structures. So what is the life cycle? Let us see now. Actually it has asexual stage and sexual phase. This asexual stage of life cycle is also known as cycle of schizogony. That means it takes place in humans, and the product is merozoid. Actually human is the intermediate host for the this plasmodium parasite, and sexual phase is in the female Anopheles mosquito, and it is the definitive host of the parasite. This sexual cycle is known as cycle of sporogony. It takes place in the mosquito, and the product is a sporozoid. So the product of asexual phase is merozoid, and the product of sexual phase is sporozoid. Because you can remember sporozoid is infective to human, so it should be produced by mosquitosal phase, and merozoid is released by the asexual cycle of the schizogony of human phase. And now let's see the life cycle. So actually very simple life cycle. What happens is the infective form of the mode of transmission is the sporozoid. In humans, the asexual cycle takes place throughout the following stages. So there are pre-erythrocytic schizogony which takes place in the liver, and erythrocytic cycle, as the name says, erythrocytes, which takes place in the RBC, and the gametogony also takes place in a human RBC, which forms at last. These are the gametocytic stage. Sporocytes are present in the salivary glands of the mosquito. It comes and bites the human. As it bites the humans, this Plasmodium vivax, for example, we take here vivax and ovale. In vivax and ovale, what happens we are seeing now. So actually what happens is they enter the body. After entering the body, they directly go into the liver. In liver, what happens is first the sporozoid form. The sporozoid in the hepatocyte converts into trophozoid with erythrocytic schizont. What is this schizont? We already see before. And in the schizont, there are numerous merozoites produced, and these merozoites burst and they come out from the liver and enter the RBC. So after entering the RBC, the hepatic merozoites inside the RBC, they go inside to the RBC, and they again form the ring form, that is early trophozoite, and again convert into the late trophozoite. You remember in late trophozoite the structure of the RBC is enlarged, and next with Schuffner's granules, and next it converts into the immature schizont. Here you can see the malarial merozoites are scattered all around the nucleus and around the cytoplasm, and next convert into the mature schizont. This mature schizont is again filled up with merozoites and again burst out and enters into the, so it releases into the circulation, and this converts into the gametocyte. The gametocyte may be male. If it is male, it is microgametocyte, and it is female, it is macrogametocyte, because female is larger than male in case of this Plasmodium. So these gametocytes are again transmitted to the mosquito when mosquito comes and bites this infected human, and again this continues there to form a life cycle in a mosquito. So what is a life cycle in mosquito? It's a sexual cycle in a mosquito, that is nothing but the sporogony producing the sporozoites. So what happens is the infective form here is the Gametocytes. So the gametocytes enter the mosquito, see macro and micro, they form a zygote, fertilization, and they convert into ookinete. The ookinete again develops into oocyst, and the oocyst develops into sporozoites. So again these sporozoites enter the salivary gland of the mosquito and they become infective. So like this the process continues. So first actually this fertilization takes place in the midgut, that is the nothing but stomach of the mosquito, and after completing in the stomach, the ookinete and oocysts are formed and they enter into the peripheral regions, and finally the sporozoites enter into the salivary gland and infect the other human. So the pathogenic and clinical features of benign malaria. What is this? It is milder in nature, can be caused by all 4 species. It is characterized by triad of febrile paroxysm, anemia, splenomegaly. Febrile paroxysm is fever, chills, etc. Anemia because as RBC are with these parasites, and when merozoites are released, it is bursted out, so the red blood cells damage causing anemia. And splenomegaly because we know all RBCs are all dead cells are sent to the spleen to get rid of them, so this affects even the spleen, and the spleen gets enlarged causing splenomegaly. Next we have the pathogenicity and clinical features. The febrile paroxysm. The fever comes intermittently depending on the species. It occurs for every 74-hour cycle, as we already discussed. All this is cold state, hot state. And next we have the clinical features, anemia because of destruction of RBC. We already discussed this. And next we have the clinical features of splenomegaly. That is, after a few weeks of febrile paroxysm, spleen gets enlarged and becomes palpable. The splenomegaly is due to the massive proliferation of macrophages that engulfs parasites and non-parasitized coated RBCs. So the pathogenic clinical figure. What is the relapse and recrudescence? We need to know. Relapse is seen in the Plasmodium vivax and ovale infections. Few sporozoites don't develop into the pre-erythrocytic zone but remain dominant. This is known as hypnozoites for 3 weeks to 1 year. The reactivation of hypnozoites lead to the initiation of erythrocytic cycle and replace of malaria. So this is relapse. And what is recrudescence? It is seen in falciparum and also in malaria infections. Falciparum malaria recrudescence is due to the persistence of drug resistance parasite even after completion of the treatment. So sometimes it may reoccur again. So this is nothing but recrudescence. See, a long-term recrudescence has seen for 60 years also. This is due to the long-term survival of erythrocytic cells at low detectable level in the blood. So even we can't find whether the parasite is there because they are in very low levels in our blood. And pathogenic and clinical features, here you can see it is most common in Africa. So many African children, pregnant women are mostly affected. It is epidemiology, it occurs almost all over the world. Worldwide there are many cases, like 300 to 500 million clinical cases, especially in tropical zones, subtropical zones, and children are more prone to the infection. And you can see Plasmodium vivax is a predominant species and has the widest geographical distribution throughout the world. Vivax is most common. And the laboratory diagnosis is by the microscopic test. The peripheral blood smear is the gold standard. The thick smear and thin smear. So what is all these things we are going to see? Fluorescence microscopy, quantitative Buffy coat examination, and also antigen antibody detection, ELISA, and PCR. So laboratory diagnosis or peripheral blood smear is, we actually this will know it in a brief. That first actually we take the blood sample and Giemsa staining, if you know. The peripheral blood is collected from the ear lobe or a finger prick, or in children or adults from the grade 2 in infant. Blood film should be prepared directly from the capillary blood with ethylene tetraacetic acid anticoagulant blood. Smears should be made within an hour collection of blood. In pregnant women, cord blood and placental blood can also be taken. In postmortem case, actually smears from the cerebral grey matter are taken. So time for the taking blood few hours after the height of paroxysm of fever, and before taking the anti-malaria. We should do this only before taking anti-malarial drugs, because again we can't find that malaria in our blood sample. And the parasite density is maximum during this period. And the frequencies of smears should be examined at least twice a day until the parasite are detected. So next coming to thin and thick smears. Actually thick smear, as the name says, is thick, you can see. Thin smear is just take 1 drop of blood and smear it like this. So by this we can observe, actually in thick phlegm we can observe which parasite, which species is present. Which parasite is present, whether the parasite is present or not. In thin film we can check the species, actually which species is present, because we take thin smear, so we can observe whether it is vivax or falciparum, etc. The rapid diagnostic test is, that is antigen antibody reaction. So here you can see the schematic of rapid diagnostic test kit showing negative non-falciparum, that is A. A is showing negative. You can see when there is no color here, it means negative. Real images of rapid diagnostic testing. These are the real images here. Treatment by using the anti-malarial drugs and their activity. So actually we use quinols and related compounds as chloroquinone for asexual RBC state, quinine for gametocytes, and metafloc asexual RBC state, and primaquine for liver stage. So first we need to diagnose whether the parasite is in which stage. So according to the stage we can give the medicines like this. And next, etromycin and etramin and artemether asexual RBC stages on gametocytes, and atovaquone asexual RBC stage liver stage only for falciparum, and proguanil is also for falciparum, pyrimethamine for asexual RBC stage, sulfadiazine sulfadioxine for liver stages, and also tetracycline doxycycline asexual RBC stages. So the treatment for this benign malaria is actually chloroquine. Is a drug of choice for uncomplicated benign malaria. It is given 25 milligrams kilo divided over 3 days, and the primaquine is given 0.25 daily for 14 days to prevent the relapse, because we know what is relapse, because again it may enter the cycle by hypnozoite resting phase. And complicated or falciparum malaria, the treatment is based on the area or resistant or sensitive to chloroquine. So sometimes some may be resistant, so we also treat with some other 2 to 3 more drugs. It is recommended in chloroquine resistant areas, whereas chloroquine can be given in sensitive areas. So ACT consists a combination of etrimics and derivatives. Antimalarials like sulfadoxine, pyrimethamine, meloxicam or lumefantrine. For treatment of failure of falciparum cases, quinine with the combination of doxycycline is given. So remember this. And in pregnancy, quinine is recommended in first trimester, whereas ACT is given in the second and third trimester. So this is important. So how can we prevent? Prophylaxis against malaria includes chemoprophylaxis, vector control strategies, vaccine prophylaxis. So prevention and chemoprophylaxis is recommended for travelers going to endemic areas and short-term measure of soldiers or police serving highly endemic areas. So prevention is by, we know this all thing vector is still. So always avoid stagnant water, use like this mosquito repellents, and always cover the body fully. So we know all this. Use the pesticides, use the gambusia fishes to avoid it. You can see biological gambusia fishes, and use larvicides, etc. And prevention, actually several vaccine trials are done in Africa, Asia, United States. The approaches are made targeting the various stages of malaria cycle, but despite of intense research, still there is no vaccine. So still we need to find the vaccine. So thank you everyone.